Turn them down. Oops, mute them. Hey, so let me get y'all real quick. I'm gonna get everybody who drop in here real quick because y'all dropped into this what you call it? You dropped into this live screen and you didn't tell me I was muted until that video been posted for some days. It was the Santa Ono live screen. Now we got to catch up because I was muted. Shout out to the person, I didn't even catch their name. Shout out to the person in the comment section who said, they said, oh no, they said this is muted with the laughing emojis. I didn't even know because the first 2 minutes of it was working when I played it back. So I assumed 2 minutes, it's good. And it dropped. Straight muted. I had muted it. I pressed this button. I'm not even going to touch it. I'm not even going to touch it because I don't want that to happen again. So we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about the U.S. Department of Education fiscal year 2026 budget. Then we're going to catch up on the Santa Ono being rejected from the University of Florida to catch up. That's going to be our catch up. And then we're going to talk about graduate college with little to no debt. We're going to go over that. So first we got to do, of course, we have to do our first and foremost, we have to do our live screen. Not live screen. We have to do our disclaimer. It's amazing so many people clicked on that video and it was muted. Is people still watching that video? I'm gonna be upset people still watching that video. Let's see. I think people still clicking on that video, guys. I don't know how they're clicking on it. So first and foremost, let's do our disclaimer. Can't believe y'all didn't tell me that I was muted in that live screen last time. Disclaimer. The videos presented here are for informational purposes only, and therefore, if you are to choose to attend an institution, please do your own research and consult with a specialist at the institution you are interested in. I am not a financial aid specialist, academic advisor, or representing an institution. Speaking on behalf, creator Henry is only speaking from his experience. All right. And then, real quick, let me see something right quick. Before we go, not go, but do this. I hope everybody's day has been pretty good. If you went to work, school, if you take summer classes or enjoying your summer, I hope it's treating you well. Let's see. Let's take that down. All right, so nobody definitely should be clicking on that. All right, let's do the fun stuff. So I was looking at the as you can see, I put the U.S. Department of Education fiscal year 2026 budget summary. I really didn't want to read an article on this. I wanted to get our own perspective on this and talk about it a little bit. If you do come in and join us, shoulder's still sore. And I was just really interested in it. Like, what's in here that we can talk about that can help you as a student? And so I think the first one that caught my attention is like in the beginning of the page. At the beginning of the pages, they said cutting the federal red tape. Um, let's talk about that a little bit. They said so within the budget summary, it says cutting the federal red tape, higher education. For decades, federal support for the education has been doled out as part of numerous small poorly designed programs that create silos and are suited to state-specific contexts. As a result, states are forced to hire increasingly large numbers of staff, not to serve students, but to apply for competitive grants and manage the bureaucratic red tape imposed by the federal government. Now, it says a little more about federal governments and town appropriations for those siloed, unnecessarily complex, unproven programs have grown. And once again, unproven programs have grown. How can you, it's kind of like what they said, how can you grow a program if it has not really show growth? Like a lot of schools have been, no schools specifically, but a lot of schools have said, oh, our program has been doing this and people from our schools are doing this from this particular program, but they're not really showing any, I guess, strides. Or like, yeah, you might have one student, but let's just say the majority are not really thriving after doing your program at the institution. So they say they want to cut the red tape. And so as we keep going, they said they proposed $2 billion K-12 simplified funding, and then we'll consolidate the currently funded formula and competitive grant programs for elementary and secondary education into a single state formula grant program. Now, K-12 is not our niche. I thought they said definitely federal red tape. So let's go back up to the context. And so it was one of them I wanted to talk about in here that caught my attention. Let me type it in. Control F. I like the Control F stuff. So there we go. So let me be clear. I can do this real quick because it's in here. So and I would drop it at the bottom so that you could download it too. Everybody should download this budget summary. I feel like even if you don't know what the budget summary is, the information in it, you still should download it because they have in here aid for expanded serving institutions, right? So expanded serving institutions. So every institution, guys, they tailor to a specific demographic. I learned this in higher education. It's actually, I would say required, so you know how to serve your institution. So normally every college is a PWI unless stated as a specific school. So most of you all, if you're from, because I'm from Georgia, I know a lot of people from Georgia know about HBCUs. Some people have never heard of a HBCU. I found that interesting because when I was in my graduate studies, or in my graduate study, I know I do that every time. I can't wait to graduate, but in my graduate studies, I have met people who don't know who wasn't really familiar with HBCU. They probably heard of it, but they wasn't really sure like what it was. And so you have schools that tailor to specific demographics. So you have a tribal college. A tribal college is like a school for Native Americans, not Indians, Native Americans, indigenous. And then you have schools that are tailored to Hispanics, right? Like I know a lot of those schools are Hispanic, it's called Hispanic Serving Institutions, HSI. And so then you have another school that's tailored to, let me see, it's right in here. I think that's really tribal, which is Native American, Hispanic Serving Institution, and then, of course, HBCUs, right? HBCUs, which tailor to people like us, African Americans, right? And then you have PBI. Yes, PBI, which is predominantly black institutions. So what is the difference between I probably should have made that a headline. What is the difference between a PBI and a HBCU? So many might think it's the same thing, but it's completely different. A HBCU is a strict mission for African Americans. The whole curriculum is tailored to African Americans, the history, the math, everything. A PBI is a predominantly white institution that serves majority, predominantly black students slash African American students. So those are PBIs when they have a high demographic. So schools that are HSI, Hispanic serving institutions, PBI, predominantly black institutions, Native American institutions slash indigenous, those schools have a high demographic of a certain ethnicity. And so the school usually should build their school around that particular demographic if they have a majority of that. It's only right? Because majority of students are this, so you want to keep them and retain them. So you have to at least pivot your school to be tailored for them and build around them for the majority. We learned that in school. It's not a bad thing. It's actually I would say helpful, wise, and just doing what's right, you know, and paying attention to your school as it could change over years. And so that also helps you as a student because if you are a certain demographic, right, you want to go somewhere where you feel it's relatable to you, right? And I'm not, like I said, I'm not the biggest person to talk about demographics in college because me personally going to school in the background that I'm from, coming from poverty, Section 8, right? You had to like, it was a little harder than most. So a lot of resources felt like it wasn't really for me personally. So yeah, a little bit on that. So let's go to the next one. So we talked about the trio. Really, we talked about the trio. Was that trio part of that one? That's gonna be in the yes. So that's in the ketchup trio and Santa Ono. So I'm gonna re-talk about Santa Ono and trio, but not yet because we're still in this. And so one thing I did notice, I did the U.S. Department of Education fiscal year 2026 budget for higher education. They sliced the trio, but I'm not gonna talk right now about that. I want to talk about where is it? Because this budget contains K through 12 information and college information. So, they don't really have much for higher education because you know they want to slice it. Let's read the overview. That's on page 36. So, 36. So, the administration fiscal year 2026 request includes $949 million in discretionary funds for higher education programs aimed at improving student achievement and increasing access to high quality education for all students to help students enroll in college and attain a degree. The request includes 1.2 billion in discretionary and I've never seen this word before. You already know. I'm putting the word in the chat. If I've never seen this word, I'm going to put it in the chat. Because apparently y'all don't know how to tell me if I was muted when I was talking the whole time. So it took somebody in the video, or not the video, the comment section after the video was posted to tell me. I'm not mad at y'all though. That's my fault. Because I should have known I hit that button on this headphone. I'm not hitting this again. I'm not hitting it. So this is the word that I came across in the that's the word I came across in the budget. Not sure. I could Google it. We're live streaming, so I will Google it to see what that word means. It might be important, it might not. Let's see. And we're gonna get better at the end because we're just doing some basic going over stuff. And again, I can't wait for us to get professionals in different departments on here who are comfortable with speaking on things. Apparently, we haven't got no professionals just yet who are comfortable about talking about higher education because it would be good to get their perspective on their department through the budget and many other factors so that it can help you as a student, right? Or at least know how to maneuver through the higher education landscape, because navigation to higher education, you can know your price of higher education, but if you don't know how to navigate on campus, like knowing what you need to do to focus, knowing where your resources at, knowing when to take a break while you're in school. It's good to take a break. Um, when I say take a break, I don't mean drop out of school during the semester, but I do mean like going to like a football game at the school, basketball game, or art, ballet at the school, depending on what type of school you're at. And so there, once again, right here, they said mandatory funding authorized under Titles 3 and 5 of the Higher Education Act of 1965 as amended. The request also includes $13.8 million for model comprehensive transition programs. Y'all don't want to hear all that. So let's go to the main parts, right? So they said, of note, the higher education request for fiscal year 2026 eliminates higher education programs that duplicate other programs. That's interesting. Are more appropriately supported with state, local, institutional, or private funds, are outside of the department's core mission, or have not shown evidence of effectiveness, saving the American taxpayer over 2.13 million in the fiscal year 2026 alone. Now that's interesting. They said they want to cut programs that are duplicate or duplicated, and if your program has not shown effectiveness, it could possibly be getting cut. And are they talking about college programs? Are they talking about like cutting just for example, are they talking about cutting an engineering program that was not effective for students? Are they talking about programs in that nature? Like, what programs are they talking about? Because when I hear program, I'm thinking immediately you're talking about like program student major in. Like usually when you hear program, it's like students major in that program. But they're saying they're thinking about slicing it, and then that could save you tax paying dollars. Everything is always trying to go back to tax paying dollars, right? Like I said, I'm not the biggest finance person, not even an expert in that area, but it seems like they're assuming if you cut some programs, or they could be talking about programs like Trio. Let's see. These programs include the Strengthening Institutions Program, the International Education and Foreign Language Studies Program, the Federal Trio programs, the Graduate Assistance in Areas of National Need programs. So those type of programs, not programs you major in. They're saying if we cut these programs, because if these programs show you that they have been successful and helpful, then these programs could still be here. But they're saying, hey, we're going to cut those programs to help provide you with more money. And so and once again, just to reiterate, because we need to remember this, overall, this request reflects the department's commitment to returning education to the states, balancing the provision of support with the responsibility of each student to choose their own path and work toward a post-secondary credential, and restoring the rightful role and responsibility of state oversight in support of higher education. So we talked a little bit about that, but that's not the main thing to talk about. We don't really want to talk about handing higher education over to the states. That's not really what we want to talk about. What we really want to talk about is, where is it? We really want to talk about cutting these programs. And once again, the thesis. I personally believe higher education will be affordable in the future. And so schools possibly could be on the shrinkage. And so we need to see when you put schools on a shrinkage, we need to see will that, well, we can't really see, but will it make the schools very valuable, attractive, easy to use, right? And so that's a little bit in that part about the physical, not physical, about the department. I was trying to follow my ear, y'all. That's a little bit about the Department of Education, fiscal year 2026, right? It's a lot of slicing, and to keep going into it, that's where we go to the catch-up part. So the catch-up part, we're going to work a little slightly backwards. You didn't hear me talk about the trio being sliced. So, because that video, that good video of ours, was muted. So, let's go to trio. So, the trio program, it was interesting. So, they allocated 1.1, if I'm not mistaken, comma, it says in millions. So that means if you see a comma in it, that means 1.1 billion. Almost 1.2. I'm gonna say 1.2. They allocated like 1.2 billion to the TRIO program. Now the 1.2 billion in the TRIO program is going to go to $0 flat. And they talked about it at the hearing with Linda McMahon. But I don't have no sound on my computer to play it out loud, some highlights from it. So when we go back to the studio, we probably won't be back in the studio till next weekend. So you probably won't hear it. That weekend we come back, it'll be that Monday that we can start playing highlights out loud again. But until then, we really just have to go with the word of me talking, right? And so, yeah, 1.2 billion to $0 is crazy. So once again, like I said, if you work in the TRIO program as a staff member, faculty, whichever one, I'm pretty sure just staff, but directors and stuff, you possibly could be looking at your job being removed if this gets passed. You know, if they're saying this is okay. And then the TRIO program also helps students from underprivileged backgrounds, right? So if you're from Section 8, if you're from poverty, if you're from any background that's like you see as like, oh, I don't got the same opportunities as everyone else, that's the type of program this is. And they're going to cut it and slice it. How does it affect you? It affects you because like you probably didn't want to use it or didn't care to use it, but if you had to change your heart and you did want to use it, you can't use it now because it's possibly going to be gone. And the TRIO program is very helpful. One of my buddies actually brought it up to me before I was really getting deep into my graduate program. He was like, "You don't want to do the TRIO program?" And I was like, or like work in it, and I was like, "What's that?" He was like, "You don't know what TRIO is?" And I was like, "No, I didn't really know what TRIO was." And so the common misunderstanding about what we do here, I'm speaking on behalf, is that people think this is for people who are from underrepresented backgrounds. You don't have to be in an underrepresented background to navigate yourself to a debt-free degree. Let's be clear. You have people with money who still going to student loan debt. Prime example. If you come from a family household that makes $200,000 a year, they make $100,000 a piece, right? And you go to a school that's going to charge you like $300,000 or $400,000. Oh, that's crazy. That's not possible. It is, because the average student graduates in 6 years. So if it takes you more than longer to graduate from a school that's going to cost you $100,000 to $200,000, not to mention that by the time your freshman year to your senior year, prices always go up in tuition, usually. And if you're going to a school of nature that's that expensive, they're going to go up in value because bills go up. The amenities that you see on the campus have to be maintained. Now, I don't get mad at that personally because schools have to make money, but I do get upset because you didn't ask for all those amenities, right? I'm pretty sure if you was a student and you had to vote or your SGA had a chance to vote on what was they had to vote on like what you wanted to add to the campus. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't add it to the campus if they told you it was gonna raise your tuition or your fees. So this is not just okay. Saying I'm back online because we crashed. Let me see. Let me test. I'm having some live screen problems. Okay, look like we back up. I look froze. All right, I see two people in there. Now I need the two people that's in there. It's showing two people. Can y'all hear me? I really need y'all to tell me because I don't know. I really don't know. I need y'all to tell me right now in the comment section. Stop. C2. Can you hear me? Come on, chat. I need y'all to hit that comment section. Y'all leave in the chat. Can y'all hear me? I don't know if y'all can hear me. Am I? Because I was stuck for a minute. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Alice Marie. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Because I definitely, something just happened. All right. So, dang. But yes, this is not for, I know we was talking, this is not only for people who are underrepresented or from underrepresented backgrounds. If you have the money to go to school, because it takes money to go to school first and foremost. Nothing is free in life. On a side note, as we keep going into the Santa Ono, nothing is free. So if you're choosing your school, as I like to say, if you're going to a 2 year or starting at a 2 year, and then you go from your 2 year to an expensive school, like you go from a 2 year community college to a private Ivy League or something, for example, it's expensive. You want to go somewhere that, did you just start? No, Alice Marie, I did not just start. I I actually just had a, I guess you could say a technical difficulty troubleshooting moment, and we have been live since for 28 minutes so far, about to go on 29. And so we do like to keep that in mind. So when you play this back and see this part, that this is not only for a specific type of people. This is for everyone because everyone doesn't have the resources. Like you need to get in good with your, not your, well, if you can get in good with your college president, get in good with executives at the school, get in good with the system of your state. Meaning, if you've been listening with us, we have like we said, Florida. Once we go, we finna talk about Santa Ona. He got rejected by the state system of Florida for universities. The university system, that's they say it backwards, but like the state university system of Florida. And so if you get in good with, for example, like you network your way with people like that who sit on the board or who work for the state system of Florida, who can write you a letter of recommendation. And you say, here, I don't want to go to a community college. I want to go to a university. Cool. But if you wonder why you didn't get into that school, it's about who you know sometimes. Legitly, it's about who you know. And also to have a better, like, you can open cool. All right, y'all should be able to hear me. It had tried to drop me out. I think the rain is doing that. It is raining out here. I'm in a very small area, rural area. So my connection is a little unstable right now. but we gonna make it through. We gonna make it through. And so you want to make connections with those professionals. Those professionals can open doors for you. It's some things that money, it's good to use your money, but if you can get a scholarship, knowing a professional, or have a way to make your life easier while navigating higher education, going to college, and get a great ROI, do that, please. So Santa Ono, since we were muted last time, Santa Ono was rejected by the University of Florida. Now, that video was messed up. So I had to re-talk about this with you all. And luckily I have easy, what can you say, organization just to get back to it, because he was rejected. So according to the articles, they said they rejected Santa Ono, the former president of the University of Michigan. So for all my football players out there who love the blue and yellow school, he was the president at that school, but he got rejected at the University of Florida because of political reasons. Really, they didn't think he was conservative enough. Really, on the governors, the board, because I didn't know this, at least in Florida. Maybe they do this in Georgia because I'm from Georgia, but I don't think they really. I'm going to assume they do because they want to know the president that's being brought into the institution, unless the institution is private. You don't have to meet with the board of the system of that state. But if you're a private school, you just meet with the board of the institution. It's like very politic structure. And so Santa J. Ono had supported DEI. Now, if you know me, I say I don't really speak on DEI because people actually do research in DEI. People actually do research in disadvantages, backgrounds, and they go into deep detail of it and explain and critically make credible work of why this person is at a disadvantage. That's not my area of study. My area of study is to talk about a president being rejected for political reasons, because this is a nonpartisan platform that is interesting that a University of Florida president got rejected. So it lets you know that if you have a political belief and that you want to be a president of a college, because remember, college presidents, they make a lot of money. They make millions of dollars. College presidents make millions of dollars. And like, depending on what school, they might make just as bad as that college football coach. Now, I know the revenue streams are a little different for college coaches and athletic directors, but they get paid a lot of money in college, even though they work in the college. So, and just because you work in the college, it doesn't mean that they're not professionals. These are professionals. They just work on the college level. I don't know why they never say that or mention that. And so he was rejected to work at the University of Florida out there, the Gators. And when he got rejected, how does it affect the student? It affects the student because this is your president of your college, first and foremost. Everything starts with the president. I don't care what anybody says. It starts with the governor, the board of directors, the board of governors, board of directors, right, of an institution. Then it goes down to the president, because the president reports to the board of directors. And then the president, if he brings a strategic plan, they say blah, 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 and he presents it to the board of directors or speak with them, and they say, we don't like that. And he probably had a plan to help you. He probably had a plan to say, look, I'm going to cut all the executives' salaries at the institution so that students can have more money to go to school and they don't have to really pay for school, hypothetically, right? Just a crazy scenario. The board of directors might say, we don't like that. You got to come with a new plan or a new strategic plan. And so a strategic plan, of course, when we level up our equipment, right, I will show you what a strategic plan is. And even better, it's because all public record. I can put the strategic plan in the comment description for you. Maybe we'll do that on the next one, right? Tomorrow, Friday. Maybe we'll do that on the next one. Like looking at a strategic plan, because as a college student, when you're coming into a school, you need to know what their plan is for you in the next 10 years. You're like, I'm not even gonna be in college the next 10 years, but you will be in school the next 4 out of that 10 years. So if the school has plans of raising tuition, raising room and board, raising dinner plans, or hey, you can't get a car. Like usually, I know that was a rule at the time. Freshmen couldn't have cars on campus. Like that was a little thing. I remember hearing about that. That was a little true fact. They probably still do that. Or they'll say they might have stuff like that in there. Oh, we're not letting undergraduates have cars on campus, or so they can, just for example. Or they might say, oh, we're going to up the parking because they charge a lot for parking. They charge you parking as a college student. Can't explain that, but you get the gist of it, right? It starts with the board of directors, then the president of the college. And so when we talked about it, though, forgive me, word for word. I don't want to say word for word what I said, but they were skeptical. They were skeptical. I'm not gonna say that word. They were hesitant that he was not conservative enough. They felt like he had some left tendencies, left tendencies, and so they said no. And then when they said no, they said he spent They said Ono spent much of the meeting repeating similar lines and also dodging direct answers, saying in some cases that he was not qualified to. Ooh, I'm gonna put this word in the chat. Y'all let me know. I'm gonna put this word in the chat. Opine. I never seen that one. I was gonna say he wasn't qualified to. In some cases that he wasn't qualified to. I don't know. Respond. That's what I would say, but I'm gonna put the word in here. I feel like that's what that word means. Have y'all seen that word before? I put the word in there. Let me know if y'all seen that word. I never seen that word before. I'm actually gonna Google it. I never seen that word. Oh, let's Google it. Yeah, as you know, if you're in the chat, my wordplay is not all that. That actually rhymes. But when I see new words, I Google it and I learn from it. Try to remember it. It says hold and state as one's opinion. The man is a genius. Is that really opinion? I never said. Oh, that's opinion. Ooh, had a moment there. I had a moment there. I didn't think that was opinion. I always seen opinion spelled regular, but opinioned. Didn't know it was spelled like this. Maybe it's weird on the computer. Probably have. I never wrote that though in papers. Never wrote it like that. I feel like my instructors would probably tell me that's not even a word. I had cases like that. So it says when Governor Carson Good pressed him on COVID vaccine mandates, pointing out that as an immunologist is pretty much your immunization. Yes, to express your opinion. Thank you, Alice Marie. Shout out to you. And but they didn't put that. They put opine on the They put OPINE. Oh yeah. I feel like they should have put. I don't know. They should just had opinion. Why they had to throw me off like that? That's like a curveball. If for my people that play baseball. But this word right here is like your immunization. I probably know I ain't pronounced that right. That's like when you get your shots. But they said he must have an opinion. Oh no, answer. I'm a mouse doctor. He said I'm a mouse doctor, adding I'm a test tube kind of guy. I don't. He said this in the interview. He said this in the interview. I don't know what that means exactly. But multiple board members came prepared to put Ono in the hot seat, citing documentations, speeches, emails to ask him about past beliefs. So, dang, if I wanted to be a college president in the future, guys, they're going to bring up all this stuff about me. They're probably going to pull up all these YouTube videos. So, Ono didn't directly answer many of the questions. At one point saying my name is on a lot of things at institutions and that I didn't write. That is true, but you did put your name on it. They said my name is not. He said I don't know what y'all talking about, but I didn't put my name on this stuff. And so it gets real political about like anti-Semitism, yeah, anti-Semitism, DEI. It's getting very political. It should be how you going to run the college. That's what I would focus on as a president, or hopefully you ask me these questions. But true enough, college presidents have to deal with these type of ordeals. They deal with similar situations that a president of the United States will have to deal with. And if they don't address it right, they get fired as a president, which is crazy, right? It's crazy. And they usually get hit for that. And so Santa Ono was rejected by the University of Florida. And then what I'm going to do, we're going to break down the University of Florida again because I couldn't even edit it if I wanted to put it into a short video, sadly. So we're going to talk about that at the end. We always break down a college at the end with some numbers, a little bit of numbers, not a lot. And then we're going to go to graduate college with little to no debt. Let's talk about that now. And that's pretty much all for Santa. Oh no, you can really Google him. It's like Santa Claus, and then J Ono, O-N-O. And so, um, yes. And so, graduate college with little to no debt. This is more my experience, I would say expertise in my area. Um, I didn't pay any money for school. Well, graduate school, yes, but undergraduate, no. But undergraduate, I did have to use some of my own money as a Pell Grant student. And then, like I said, in Georgia, we have a secondary. It's called Hope. If you're in another state, it's called something else. It might be called the Charlotte Scholarship, or if you're in Texas, the Texas Benefits or something. I don't know. And so, as a student, when I started college, Pell and Hope, taking care of my schooling, right? But I always like to reinstate that just because you got Pell Grant money or any money for school, period. Because when I was really using their money, I could have burned that money in one semester. I like to reinstate this because that's like a hook of our song. I could have burned all that money in 1 year. And so Pell Grant at the time was giving like 7 grand, if not more. It's giving like 7 grand a year. I used to divide that by two for my people out there. If you know, they split it up in 2 semesters. So that was like 3,500. I'm gonna still put it in the calculator, but it's 3,500. And so I made sure to go to schools that was under $3,500 for the semester. If you was not under $3,500 for the semester, there's nothing we could talk about. Even now, my graduate school, side note, my graduate school called me and asked me that I fill out my financial aid. Why are you asking me to fill out my financial aid? Graduate students don't get financial aid. The only financial aid you get as a graduate student is the loans. You're trying to make me get a loan? I don't want a loan. I'm good. I called them and told them I'm good. It was a third party calling, not even my school. It was a third party calling me, just like a what? Spam. Just like a what? Collector. My third party is calling me to talk about pretty much trying to get me to get a loan. And I'm in graduate school. Now, granted, my return on investment of graduating, like the return on investment I'm looking at for graduating in graduate school is not high. I'm not looking at, to be honest with you, the money they're probably trying to make me take out, I'm not looking at 60K after getting my master's. Legitly. Legitly. In my career field, it's a lot of older people holding the jobs. Respectfully. Respectfully. They're not even trying to train you up so that you can get that job. So you're trying to ask me to get a loan. Then you want to get upset when we break it down to the professionals about this doesn't make sense. Now I'm 26. I'm just being honest right now. It shouldn't hurt nobody's feelings. We're all grown-ups, right? And so that's the problem I have. And so I made sure though, back to the undergraduate, under 3,500. You can go to some great schools with your Pell Grant. Slash, if you don't have Pell, if you're using regular money, if your parents say, look, we're going to provide you with, your parents might, it might be the same form, it just under a different sponsor. That's how I look at it. Your parents might say, look, we're going to present you with $4,000 per semester. Now pick a school that aligns with this $4,000 and under. Why? Because your parents might say, look, your parents might make like $6,000 or $7,000 per check or whatever, right? And they're willing to allocate like 2,000 out their check, help you pay for school, right? Because they like, look, we can pay that back quick. And they might have a financial advisor who can stretch a plan over on how you can go to school. It can get real creative, guys, about how to go to college. And so my thing is though, the hook started 2 year. 2 year over everything starting out. At least for me. And I feel for most people, because we have almost $1.7 trillion in student loan debt. So I would definitely recommend to anybody that you should start at 2 year. $1.7 trillion. Yeah, that's a lot of money. So the current student loan debt total. Yeah, it still says 1.6, but we all know it's a hot topic. They just talked about it in actually CNBC. As you know, I like to talk about stocks. CNBC talks about stocks, investments. They actually just spoke on this on 5/5 a month ago, 5/5/25, about student loan debt collections, right? They're coming. And we ain't really trying to talk about the collections. If you want to talk about that, please comment. But please, like 2 year. And remember, then articulation agreement, pathway agreement. I don't know if you ever heard of articulation, but pretty much with that articulation agreement, that's going to set you up to bridge to that 4 year. But you got to make sure your 2 year is in partner with your what? Your 4 year. It gets real sweet when you do that. It makes it so smooth because when you say the keyword, like I went to this school, and they're like, oh, da da da, the advisor already know because the advisor know like, oh, you went to this school, are you under the pathway agreement? Then the advisor know, look, it's only 3 or 4 degrees you're doing, so you need to know what degree is being offered at that 4 year when you're doing this articulation agreement. Talk to your advisor, talk to your school about it. They know about it. Now, are they going to mention it? Not really, because I don't know why articulation agreements, let's ask ChatGPT for a quick glance. I don't know why articulation agreements came in to place. I never really knew the backstory to it. Why were articulation agreements created? Boop. So here's what and remember y'all, ChatGPT is a high powered search engine. So it's pulling directly from the internet. So the articulation agreement was created to make it easier for students to transfer between colleges, especially from community colleges to 4 year colleges. Please do not, students do this. This don't make sense to me. Don't do this. And I will clip this because this is a fundamental don't do rule. Do not do this. Do not go to a 4 year and then say, oh, you go to a lower level 4 year, right? You might say, oh, I'm going to a state college, right? And then you transfer to a bigger university. You pretty much doubled your loss of money because you could have, like, I see kids or parents, they put their kid at a 4 year to take these gen ed classes just to transfer to another 4 year that's bigger. Don't get me wrong. Some 4 years do have that type of agreement, but that's a waste of money when you can go to a 2 year and do gen ed. Gen ed is gen ed. It's only so much you can do in gen ed to the point that it doesn't really matter who's teaching it. It'd be better for you to go to a smaller classroom. And so articulation agreements They prevent you from losing credits, because if you lose them credits, it's gonna be real hard for you when you're getting your bachelor's, or depending on how you set up, to get your master's. And so it shortens your time of degree completion. That is true. When I started, just to bring that back up, I started in 2018. And so I started like a year late, technically. I didn't start my degree actually until 2018. And then I remember when I did it, I was at my 2 year for 2.5 years. And then when I transferred to my university, I was there for a year and a half. I wasn't even at my university that long. People were looking at me crazy when I got there and I transferred. One of my people, he commented actually. I didn't know him personally, but we met at graduation. And he said he went to a 2 year too. But when you go there, I went there on a mission, man. College was a phase. Like, I felt like college was, like, some people might say college was fun. They got the college experience. And this is not no shot at anybody, but when you get the college experience, how much debt did you have to go into to get that college experience? That's what I don't like about it. Because my college experience is that I took money because fortunately I was able to get refunds and work as a college student, which it was very lucrative. And I was able to take that money and invest it in the stock market and grow it. And so that's what I liked about it. And that's what I don't think a lot of people really consider when you're going to college, is that they're providing you opportunities outside of the classroom to create a pathway for yourself. And that a college experience, I can care less about a college traditional experience, me personally. And that's the way I feel. I wish I wrote a paper on it, but I'd rather tell you about it. And so that is true right there what ChatGPT just said, to shorten your time of your degree completion. And so it reduced the tuition cost by allowing students to start at a lower cost school. So yeah, 2 years a lot lower. And actually in some agreements and pathways, here's some game again. When you're under that articulation agreement, a pathway agreement, if you start at that 2 year, right, you can, man, read them. If you type them in, depending on what school you're trying to go to, read them. And they actually said this on LinkedIn posts. That's why I love LinkedIn. Schools, like, if I started a 2 year and they're charging me $100 per credit hour, and I can get charged that same tuition per credit hour that my 2 year was charging me at my university, if I go to the university, because what that does is that guarantees that university a pipeline of students, right? And actually, there was a study on it I came across that, y'all probably gonna ask me for that study, huh? But I don't think y'all will have access to it. But the study is students who started the 2 year are more likely to graduate with their bachelor's than somebody who starts at a 4 year. Really? Really? And so everyone in my circle who was at a 2 year, now don't get me wrong, the age difference is different though. There is a big age gap a little bit, because a lot of schools, now it could be changing if they've been keeping up with the research. Older generations like to go to 2 years. So that could explain for them to advancing through to get their bachelor's, right? And so a younger student, like fresh 18, 19, going to college, they're going straight to a 4 year, which adds on more distractions. And so, no offense to our generation, Gen Zers, we're Gen Z, but we already have the biggest distraction already, and that's your phone. So if you're trying to add on your phone as a distraction on top of the parties at college, going to the football games, going to the basketball games, going to this and that, and or just, you might enjoy peace and just walking around campus, like, but you're not being efficient while you're there. Like, I didn't even take full advantage of all the resources in college. That's how much resources. That's how many resources there are on your campus. It's a lot of resources. And so it says, though, the history articulation agreements became more prominent in the 1970s and 1980s, When student mobility increased and states began pushing for clearer pathways between institutions to improve college completion rates. Would you like examples of how articulation agreements work in Georgia or another state? No, we don't want that. But what we do want is this. Articulation agreements. So when I did my own little history on it before I got in graduate school, but I wasn't sure if I was interpreting the information correctly. I wasn't sure. Um, Community colleges wasn't formed until schools started getting overpopulated with students. Like everybody couldn't go to a university. So they had to create another school for people to go. So when you have these other students leaving, you have these other students coming in from another institution. That's originally why it was kind of invented, like 2-year colleges. Now I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how I remember it. I had to refresh myself on it, but that's how I remember it. And so, and then they also was speaking on like every student doesn't want to do book work. Some students want to work with their hands, the trades. That's where like the Booker T. Washington comes in and W.E.B. Du Bois and them come in because they had different ideologies, right, about how you should go to school. But they factor into the higher education curriculum. And so for people out there, I went to a historical black high school coming up. And so we had the Booker T. Washington model. We had cosmetology in high school. We had mechanic, maintenance. We had electrical. We had, if we asked, we probably would have had plumbing. We had a little bit of robotics, right? We had, what's another one? JRTC. Every school don't have JRTC. We had a lot of those Booker T models in our school. And so the school was definitely built on as some people go to HBCU college, that high school was built on a HBCU type of environment, except in high school. So we get disciplined very early and know how to maneuver life early. So that's pretty much what we want to talk about as graduating with little to no debt. You start at the 2-year, take advantage of the articulation agreement, bridge to a university, and capitalize on that opportunity. When you get the money, I really think while you're in high school, talk to your parents first. Please talk to your parents about it. You should get a financial advisor, but talk to your parents. If they don't know about it, if you don't really trust, you really have to evaluate yourself as a person though. Can you read people good? Can you understand people good? Because all financial advisors not good. And there are books on it. I actually can recommend one. Let me see. I might have it in this binder. Or it might be on, nope, I got it. This book right here is a great book. This is a great book right here. It's called The Everything Guide to Investing in Your 20s and 30s by Joe Duarte. I hope I said it right. It's a great book though. It tells you about like getting a financial advisor, what you should focus on in your 20s and 30s, because I picked this book up when I was at my university at the bookstore. Yes, we got bookstores at our university, Barnes and Noble, and so they got a free advertisement. But I picked this book up because I was still learning in undergraduate, but YouTube videos wasn't really helping me. It's always missing information. They talk about the front loads, they talk about loads, no loads with financial advisors. Are they commission based? If they're commission based, they don't really care. He talks about this because I'm not a financial expert, but it's all about reading, right? And so please talk to your parents about that. You should have one while you're in college, because what that can do, they can let you know in advance what you're looking like to be set up before you graduate your undergraduate. So it's like, is it in my interest to go to graduate school? Is it in my interest to get a car? Like they advise you on that. And so now they advise you on that. You still can make that decision if you want, but they're there to make sure you staying stable. You don't need a financial advisor when you get a lot of money because you did it by yourself, I'm assuming. You want one to get educated. That's really what you're paying for, the education of a financial advisor. People think it's about really making all the money. It's the education they give you. It's really like invaluable. So we're going to break down the University of Florida, and then we're going to Get out of here. Oh, 27 views. Y'all been dropping in here. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Oh man, much love, much love. Shout out. Hey, I'm gonna shout y'all out real quick. Hold on. I got y'all. I got y'all real quick. Hold on, hold on. I got y'all. I got y'all. Y'all might not see it, but I got y'all. I got y'all. I got y'all. And it's a party up in here. Shout out to y'all. Y'all better not be no bots. Y'all better be real people. I don't care if y'all did drop in for a minute. Y'all got that minute of information. We was cooking. We was cooking. Fish grease cooking. So we're about to do the University of Florida again. Once again, because it was muted. And that's an easy fix. University of Florida. I've been like this since a child. They make it hard to smile. Y'all listen to Rod Wave? I like Rod Wave. So tell me what you need. University of Florida. Yes, Gainesville, Florida. All right, that's the one we want to click on. University of Florida. Jacksonville. Exact name match. Yes, we want to be that school. So when I did the university, I just closed that tab not too long ago too. It's funny. Life works in mysterious ways, I tell you. So the University of Florida. They're saying, I always like to start out with the tuition. It's a very simple process, right? When I'm talking about higher education, my little process is tuition. If you can't afford the tuition alone, you don't really need to go to the school because when they throw on the room and board and the meal plans, you're over with. So let's do the tuition. So they're saying their average tuition, they say the average annual cost, so I'm gonna have to divide that by 2. But they're saying their average annual cost is $6,351, $6,351. So where is it? No, probably just pulled it up. I guess it didn't save. That's cool. So University of Florida tuition and fees. I always type in tuition and fees when I'm talking about when I'm looking up schools. If you just type in the school name, it's gonna show you the Google version. You don't want that. You want the real version. And then use the scorecard in the comment description, but also fact check it. And then if you want to have a video where we specifically spend a live stream breaking down how to calculate your tuition per credit hour, your tuition, what you need to be looking at, we can do that. But you have to comment on the video. I don't care if I did mute myself. Comment anything that's a problem because that allows me to fix it. So the University of Florida tuition, keyword tuition. I always type in tuition and fees. Now some schools make it hard to find. If you go on the school website and look for tuition and fees, just go on the school website, it's gonna be real hard for you to find. But you can find their sports, you can find their fun stuff easy, the beautiful stuff, the distraction stuff, but you can't find the stuff you need. You can't find the stuff you need. So University of Florida tuition and fees, I already clicked on it, it's already highlighted in purple. And so, and what I do is I want to look for the upcoming year. Now, you could look at the past year to be like, how much did they go up from the past year to the future year? You could do that. But what we want to do, we just want to go to the upcoming year, scroll down a little bit, you have to look for it. They might give you the cost overview. I don't really want that. I want to calculate and see it. I don't want them to estimate my cost. Never let them estimate your cost because they'll throw in an extra $5,000 for your living lifestyle. It does not take me an extra $5,000 to live my lifestyle and go to school. I don't know who they think I am. Because if they throw an extra $5,000 for one semester, that's $10,000 for the year. And I don't know what they think living expenses that is. So I would say that my extra 10,000 go to my apartment. That's what it did for my living lifestyle. But I don't know what they don't know how to calculate. Never use the estimate of the school. It's going to lead you in the wrong direction. So where is it? Tuition fees. It might be this one though. Where is it? Oh, here you go. It's right in my face. So no, we don't want that one. That's not telling us the year. It's usually like a little sheet. Let's hit the back button real quick. See, they're making it a little hard. We don't want that one. 2022. Now, why would they not have 2024 to 2025? Here you go, right here. Now, tell me why is it on the side? The 2023 to 2024 academic year. So apparently they didn't put the 2024 to 2025 on here. So I'm going to go off their old one, which is from 2023 to 2024. Now, they could have it up here, but I see everything from 2017 to 2023 to 2024. This is their school website. So you can call the school and say, hey, I need to find this because it's not aligning with for this upcoming year. That's a problem because I need to see that so I can budget for the upcoming year. And then, so what I do, because there's a little different. I look at these all the time when I'm with you guys, and sometimes every school is different. I'm gonna check the screen. Oh, we had 30 people dropping in. That's dope. That's dope, guys. That's dope. I shout you all out. So right now we're looking at undergraduate courses. So I can give you a small little glance at that real quick. When you take, so you have 1,000 level courses, 2,000 level courses, 3,000 level courses, 4,000 level courses. Your 1 and 2s are for undergraduate. Like, you could do 1 and 2 courses, 1,000 and 2,000 level courses, or 101, 102, I mean 100 or 200 level courses at your 2-year. Your 2-year will never offer 3 and 400 level courses. It's like 3,000, 4,000, same thing. They'll never offer that at 2 years. If they do, it's under, specific conditions. Your university offers the 3 and 4. That's why you go to the university. So you can knock out your upper level classes. Literally, that's what it's for. And so it's $105 per credit hour. But I believe what they did, that's what they did. They combined it to where you're going to be, if you're a resident and you're undergraduate, freshman to senior year of undergraduate, just starting school, you're looking at $212. That's what we said last time. You're looking at $212. So $212 is $212.71. That matters a lot. Always put the change in there. That makes a big difference. $212.71 times, if you're going to be a college student, you're going to take probably 12 credit hours or 15. But in this case, we're going to do 12. 3, 6, 9, 12 per credit hour. 3 per credit hour is usually like, you would probably see like, that's like your math. You should see a 3 next to it, but I'm not going to confuse you. It's usually 12 for your course schedule. And then what you're going to do, you're going to equal it. It's going to be $25.52. That's what we got last time. And so if you do $25.52 and 52 cents times 2, because 2 semesters, that's going to give you what? $5,105. And like we said in the video last time, but I was muted, it's going to cost you what? Not cost you, but the College Scorecard is factoring in, they say it's going to cost you like $6,000, $63.51 for a year. Right now, if you're going to be a resident undergraduate there at the school, I'm looking at, unless they upped it, I'm looking at 5105. So once again, well, we know Pell Grant, or if you're a Pell Grant student, either way, we know if you're Pell Grant, you're going to lose like a $1,600 this for 2026 to 2027 school year. But we know like if your parents helping out with school, they're only charging you 25.52 in Florida at Florida University. Shout out to the Gators. They're only gonna charge you 25.52. That's very good. I used to pay 13 at my 2 year, 1200 per semester. So that's not bad. Now, if you can save a lot of money, because in Florida they have great prices for community colleges. So please do that. Always calculate. And University of Florida is a very good school. Now I can't speak for their upper, like their graduate programs. The prices get crazy. Then if you want to get your law degree, I think they have no, they just got law school so far and some other like other type of programs that we're not gonna get into. But they get pricey after that. But their undergraduate, pretty affordable. And so yeah. Let's but just to give you an idea, I get charged this price, their undergraduate price, I get charged that in graduate school. What I'm in now. That's what you do after you complete your freshman and sophomore year of college, the undergraduate. I get charged that in graduate school. See, I go where I save money. I don't go where I spend more money. And so yes. And then let's go to the next part. They're saying after you graduate college here, earnings of an individual that receive, they always say the individuals that receive federal student aid, but after you started this school, you have a chance of making $71,000 after you graduate. Most schools, most 4 years are going to get you like 53 after graduating. So 71K ain't bad, if I'm not mistaken. And so, yeah, and I will look at that to make sure, guys, because I know sometimes they be doing it different on different sites. Once again, we already talked about the cost. And never get a room, don't get room and board, and don't get a meal plan at a university. I always have to stress that and emphasize that. Unless you need it. Unless your living arrangement is very different. I advise you to explore the off-campus opportunities they're going to provide you. That's what my university did. So students who return after their first year, they say 97%. You can talk to the students yourself. If you really want to get curious, you can ask them how it is at the institution. But they said they have a 97% return after the first year. And then, let's see. No, I want to see that. I want to see. I always like to talk about the debt. They said debt, you looking at like the typical debt for undergraduate borrowers is about $15,000. In the last video, well, when we did this the first time, I was like, that makes sense because if you stay on campus, they're charging you like an additional 15K. Like each year you're adding on like an additional 10 to 15K when you tack on like on campus amenities. So you being 15K in debt, really, it's gonna be more than 50K in debt, but it makes sense that it's gonna be 15 or more. So that's what I'm getting at. They're saying that's what you're looking at for loans. But they say 12%, they say 12% students receiving federal loans. Now, when they say federal loans, let's be clear. Federal loans. That doesn't mean the private loans. What's the private loans? Banking at the Wells Fargo, I said their name. Banking at the Wells Fargo's, the JP Morgans, or whatever big banks, as an example. These are just examples. But they didn't mention that part. You always have to factor in that part, because remember, If it was only 12% of people receiving federal student loans, we wouldn't be in $1.7 trillion of student loan debt. Common sense, right? So, the typical earnings, I think we spoke on that. We did speak on that. They said 80% of their students make more than a high school graduate. Tough. That's good. They got campus diversity on here on the College Scorecard. If you want to look at that, if you feel like diversity matters to you a lot and you want to be around a certain demographic of people, then they have that on there for you. But my best advice is to actually use that college tour to see for yourself. Can't believe all the statistics sometimes. And so they have an acceptance rate of 24% of people. So I'm assuming when you try to go in straight after high school, it's only you have a 24% chance or less of getting in. That's why I say if you do the 2-year, that increases your chance a lot because that school has an obligation to fulfill with your 2-year. You just have to make sure what your 2-year has a partnership with your dream 4-year school because that's going to lead to what 2-year you should go to so you can get to that 4-year. Strategic, right? So that's pretty much it for the University of Florida. I like their prices. Like tuition alone, I would go there, stay off campus, check out the campus, right? See if it fits me. Do I like that Florida environment? Do not be an out of state student trying to go to a school like that's not in your state. Always go to a school in your state. Always go to a school in your state. Never go out of state unless you're on a full ride scholarship. Just like an athlete, because they're going to charge you double if you're out of state. So that's pretty much all we got for today. I'm going to see you all tomorrow. Thank you for coming, everybody in here. And we will talk about more tomorrow, hopefully. Hopefully we got some funny news coming out about higher ed.